Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm your teacher for today again, Teacher Shelly, for our 81st week, day 2 of our Maritime English. Now, before we begin for today's session, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Gimyang Shipping and of course to the Gimyang Shipping Seafarers Union for organizing and supporting this valuable training program. Okay, and on behalf of our training team, thank you for your continued commitment to the professional development of our seafarers. Right? And then your dedication, of course, in providing a quality education and continuous learning opportunities, of course, helps strengthen our safety, our confidence, and our competence, and the operational excellence across the maritime industry. And it is really a truly honor and privilege to begin the opportunity to share the knowledge with all of you today. And I would like to thank all of the officers and crew members who have taken the time to attend this training this morning. And your willingness to learn and continuously improve. Of course, it demonstrates your commitment, no? Your commitment to becoming a safer, and a more competent maritime professionals, right? And now, as a seafarers, you all know that safety is not simply a requirement, right? It is a responsibility. Every decision we make on board has the potential to protect lives, to safeguard the vessel, and of course to preserve the marine environment. Now, for today's topic, this is a quite long topic for about this is the third week already, no? It's all about fire, no? The classes of fire, the types of fire extinguishers. Now, for today, it's all about the fixed system on ships, no? This is one of the most important areas of shipping or shipboard safety. Now, since fire remains one of the greatest hazards at sea, understanding how to prevent it, how to control it, and how to respond to it can make the difference now between a controlled emergency and a major disaster. All right? So, I encourage now everyone to participate actively throughout this session and feel free not to think critically about each scenario. You reflect on your own onboard experiences, no? And consider how the lessons we discussed today can can be applied on your own vessels. Okay, so once again, thank you, Gimyang Shipping Seafarers Union and the Gimyang Shipping Seafarers for this opportunity. And thank you all of you, for your presence and participation. And of course, without further ado, let us begin our lesson, okay, or our training for today. So, yes, good morning, everyone. I'm again your teacher, Teacher Shelly. All right. So, for our lesson for today, as mentioned earlier, it's all about the fixed fire extinguishing systems on ships. Okay? So, I would like to welcome everyone, no, for our training session for today. So, this lesson is not only about learning the names of different firefighting systems, right? Okay, but more importantly, understanding how they work, right? How they work, the fire extinguishing system, and when they should be used, no? This one, the system, of course, and why they are essential or important for protecting lives, the vessel, and the marine environment. And since, as mentioned, that fire is one of the most dangerous emergencies that can occur on board the ship, no? Unlike other fires on land, a ship is isolated, right? It is isolated. So, there is no nearby fire department to respond, right? So the crew must purely rely on their knowledge, their training, the equipment, no, and of course the teamwork. And that is why every seafarer, from the master to the newest crew member, must understand the ship's firefighting system. Okay? So, now, through this lesson, I encourage everyone, no, to think about the actual situations on board. Now, we can ask ourselves, no, if this happened on my vessel today, so would I know exactly what to do? No? So, that's a part of asking ourselves, no, on what to do if that will happen on your vessel, no? Fire. So, now, before we begin, let me ask everyone a simple question. How many of you have participated in a fire drill on board? Okay. So, I should say, of course, everyone already. Everyone experienced that on board, right? So, fire drills, most of you, no? Now, however, there is a big difference, no? Participating in a drill and responding to a real life scenario like fire emergencies. Now, of course, during an actual emergencies, our stress levels drastically or dramatically increases. That's a physiologic reaction, right? Or that's a normal reaction. And now, smoke really reduces visibility, no? Once smoke is present. Now, communication becomes more difficult, right? So, every decision must be made quickly, right? So, that is why understanding the fixed fire extinguishing systems on ships or on board is extremely important. And this system, okay, or these systems are designed to control the fire before it spreads beyond the compartment. Okay? Now, so today, we will discuss these systems one by one and understand their operation. Okay? So, for today's lesson, it focuses on fire or fixed fire extinguishing systems on ships. Alright? Now, but we will also cover the human side of firefighting. So, many investigations show that the equipment failures are not always the primary cause of accidents. Yes. In many cases, no, accidents happen because of human error. Like for example, we have a poor communication. Okay? Poor communication. Really. And then, there's a delayed decision making. We have that. Sometimes, most of the time. And the panic mode. Right? And sometimes there's a failure to follow the procedures. So, that's basically the reasons why there are accidents, okay, which is caused by human error. All right, so basing with this good equipment, alone, really does not save lives or our lives on board. But of course, the knowledge we have, or if you are a well-trained crew, well, that supports your life basically when you're on board. Okay? So, the lesson contents, okay, I'll just go back here. Okay? The lesson contents here is all about, as I said, the fixed fire extinguishing system on ships. So, we will study about that. Secondly, we will understand, the human factors, okay, that influence emergency response. And then thirdly, we will learn the proper method of investigating shipboard fires, okay. And then the fourth one, we will review the SOLAS, okay, the fire system or the fire safety systems code and the STCW requirements. And then finally, of course, we will have a short quiz, just a review. Knowing the topics about knowing the equipment is only the first step. Okay, so we also have to know how to use it safely and correctly which is equally important. All right. So the overview of the fixed fire extinguishing systems on ships, we will actually discuss about it one by one. So unlike a portable fire extinguishers that can carried out by the crew members, fixed systems are permanently installed on board, and they protect high-risk spaces where manual firefighting may become impossible. Okay? Like, the example is through the engine rooms, the cargo holds, your pump rooms, the machinery spaces, and some galley installations, right? So all these fixed systems are installed. So imagine an engine room fire involving a leaking fuel oil. Would you immediately send firefighters inside? Of course, probably not, no? The temperature may be too high. So, the visibility may be almost zero. So, anytime explosions could occur. So, instead, the vessel uses this fixed extinguishing system to suppress, or to control or extinguish the fire without exposing the firefighters to unnecessary danger, So, the primary objective of these fixed fire extinguishing systems is simple. First, it protects lives. Second, it protects the vessel, of course. And then, it prevents the fire from spreading. Okay? Because that's really our main goal if there is a fire. Right? So, the total flooding is one of the example. This one. Usually, is used primarily in machinery spaces like cargo holds and pump rooms. Okay? Now, this is probably the most well-known fixed fire fighting systems on board ships. Alright? Basically, it works by reducing oxygen inside the compartment. Okay? And then most fires require oxygen to continue burning, right? So, when oxygen drops below a critical level, of course, combustion stops because you starve the oxygen, right? So, the absence of this oxygen, automatically, the fire stops or the combustion stops. Okay? However, this creates another danger. If people remain inside that compartment, they can also be deprived of oxygen, right? So, therefore, CO2 systems save ships, but they can also kill people if procedures are ignored, right? Now, so the master's decision before releasing this CO2, okay, there are several important actions must be completed by the master. Okay? The first one, the master must instruct evacuation. Immediate evacuation. Okay? Now, a complete head count now must be conducted. And to make sure that the ventilation must be stopped. Right? And then the compartment must be sealed. Okay? And then, that's the only, after confirming these steps, should the system is activated. No crew inside the compartment, ventilation was stopped, okay? And then the compartment was sealed, a proper head count of the crew, and now that's the time the CO2 is released. Okay? Never discharge CO2 unless you are absolutely certain no one remains inside. Okay? That's the very important instruction should come from the master. Okay? So, for the second fixed fire system, extinguishing system, is the foam fixed installations. Okay? Foam is mainly used for liquid fuel fires. Okay? Liquid fuel fires. The class B. Okay? Now, example to that is, of course, the diesel fuel. Another, your fuel tanks and lubricating oil and tanker cargo decks. No? This one, the cargo tanker decks. Now, this foam forms as a blanket over the liquid or over the burning liquid. Now, this blanket separates now the fuel from the oxygen. Now, without oxygen, right? As we all know, combustion stops. So, foam also cools the fuel. Okay? The fuel or the fuel surface itself. And it helps now prevent reignition. So, there are different types of foam. Okay? The first one is the high expansion foam. Okay? It quickly fills the enclosed machinery spaces. While this low expansion foam is commonly used on tanker deck system. Okay? Now, whenever we fight a fuel fire, always remember this principle. Do not attack only the flames. Okay? Attack the fuel sources or the fuel source. That is exactly what foam does. Alright? So this serves as your cooling blanket, the foam. Alright. Now, with regards to the water mist. Okay, wait a moment. Okay, with the water mist. Okay. The slides was missing. I'm sorry. All right. So, all right. It's here. Sorry. So, with regards to the water mist, instead of using a large amounts of water, this system or these systems produce extremely fine droplets of water. No? And these droplets absorb heat very efficiently. No? Now, when they turn into steam, they remove enormous amounts of heat energy. Now, the steam also reduces oxygen concentration around the flame. Right? Now, one advantage of water mist is reduced water damage. Okay? Reduced water damage. Now, this is important because excessive water can affect vessel stability. And this water mist is also safer around machinery. Right? Now, compared to the conventional flooding methods. Now, many modern ships nowadays use water mist because or mainly because it provides effective fire suppression while minimizing damage to the equipment. Right? That's why this is well used or mostly used. Okay? The water mist system. Okay. Now, another, the sprinkler system. Okay, this one, the sprinkler system. This is commonly installed in areas and in service spaces. Okay? Now, most accommodation areas on board, it uses an automatic sprinkler systems. This is a common understanding or a common misunderstanding, that all sprinkler heads activate simultaneously. But that is incorrect. Only the sprinkler exposed to sufficient heat that keeps this sprinkler system activated. Again, only those sprinkler heads that is exposed to heat opens. Okay? So, meaning, while this one is not functioning or not open, meaning this is not exposed, okay, to heat. But this one, and this one, and this one is exposed to heat because the valve opens. Okay? This limits unnecessary water damage. Okay? While concentrating water where the fire only exists. Okay? Now, the sprinkler heads, okay, contains here a glass bulb, which is filled with a special fluid. Okay? Now, when the surrounding temperature reaches its designed activation point, the bulb here, the glass bulb, breaks. So, that special fluid then is released. Okay? Like this. Okay? Now, this simple design has protected the ships and, of course, the buildings and the offices for many decades already. Okay? This is installed in our ceiling, in the office, okay? In the malls, around, okay? So, or yeah, in the ships. So, this is the common, okay, type of fixed fire extinguishing system. Alright? So, we also have what we call the deluge system. Okay? Or the deluge systems. Okay. This is our final system for today's discussion. This is the fifth, no? Unlike sprinklers, here, all nozzles discharge water simultaneously, all together. These systems protect very high-risk areas, very high risk, such as the vehicle decks for pure car carriers or the pure car and truck carrier type of vessel. And, of course, the ro-ros. Okay, the ro-ro spaces type of vessel. Now, once this one, once the deluge system is activated, every nozzle within the protected zone begins spraying water immediately. No? This rapidly cools the area and prevents the fire from spreading. Okay? Now, remember the difference. Sprinklers operate individually, while the deluge systems operate all at once, simultaneously, or all together. Okay? Now, with our discussion with regards to the 5 major fixed fire extinguishing systems, that concludes that all the fixed or the fire fixed extinguishing systems is used on board ships. No? So, always remember this 5 types and it's life-saving fire system apparatus or equipment. Okay? So, in the next section or in the next slides, we will move beyond the equipment and we will discuss the safety precautions that must be always be followed before activating these systems. Now, along with the human errors that influence successful emergency response, we will discuss it next. Okay? Now, here, the safety precautions. Since we already discussed the 5 fixed firefighting extinguishing systems, we have to understand the different reasons, no, why it is important. So how okay, I will leave a question. Can we activate these systems immediately once we discover the fire? Okay, based on our discussion from our previous lessons? Of course, no. We cannot activate these systems once we discover a fire. Okay? Using, again, the correct firefighting system is important. But using it safely is even more important. Before activating any fixed firefighting extinguishing system, especially a carbon dioxide, a flooding system, the first priority is to protect human life. Okay? Now, there are 3 critical precautions. Okay? Every crew member must remember. The first one is the 100% head count verification. Okay? Never release a carbon dioxide into a compartment unless you are absolutely certain that every person has evacuated safely. Okay? Never use carbon dioxide or never release carbon dioxide in any compartment unless you are 100% sure that there's no person inside the compartment. Okay, secondly, a positive isolation. So this means stopping ventilation fans. Okay, shutting quick closing fuel valves and isolating any systems, okay, may continue feeding the fire if you cannot isolate the fire. Okay? Now, thirdly, the re-entry protocol. So, just because the fire now appears to be extinguished does not mean that the compartment is already safe. The atmosphere must be tested first. Okay? And anyone entering must wear a self-contained breathing apparatus or what we call the SCBA. And also, you measure the oxygen and the carbon dioxide levels are already confirmed safe. Always remember these 3 protocols. Okay? We have to save people first. Then we save the ship. Alright? Remember that 3 principles. Okay. Now, I will give you an example of incident analysis. Now, let us look at the real example of why this precautions are necessary. Because many accidents involving especially CO2, okay, especially CO2 systems do not occur during actual fires. No? They occur during maintenance And imagine, no, this situation, the vessel is in port. So technicians are servicing the CO2 system. So someone, imagine someone accidentally activates the release of the mechanism. At that very moment, crew members are still inside the machinery spaces. So instead of protecting the vessel, the CO2 system now becomes a deadly hazard already. Na? So, investigations have, maybe it shows that these incidents usually result from poor communication, failure to verify head count, and of course, the inadequate safety procedures were done. No? So, this teaches us a very important lesson. So, in every routine, maintenance should be treated with the same seriousness in actual emergency. Always use mechanical locks or release pins during maintenance. You communicate clearly between the ship and the shore personnel. And then you verify that everyone understands the work being performed so that we can prevent most of the accidents, when procedures are followed correctly. Right? So, we have to be well trained. We have to think first. That's why decision making is very important. Okay? All right. So the next is human factor in shipboard fire emergencies. Okay. Now we move on to this lesson. Human factors. Okay. Now, let me ask everyone a question. What causes more accidents on board? Is it the equipment failure or human error? Well, what do you think, everyone? Okay. So, many investigations show that human error plays a major role in emergency situations. Really, partly correct. Now, the equipment may function perfectly, but if the crew panic, fail to communicate, or they have a poor decisions, or they make poor decisions, the situation now can quickly become worse. Right? So, today, we will discuss these 5 important human factors. The stress in decision making, the communication failures, the situational awareness, the leadership under pressure, and the crew coordination and teamwork. And understanding these factors helps us become safer and more effective seafarers during emergencies. Okay? So, as mentioned, it's stress and decision making. Next is communication failure. Okay? And then we have the situational awareness. Okay? And then we have fourth is the leadership under pressure. Okay? And of course, the last one is the crew coordination and the teamwork. There is no coordination. Okay? There's no teamwork. Okay? As we all know that firefighting is never an individual activity. It should always be a teamwork. Now, during this shipboard emergency, several teams work together simultaneously, right? And then the bridge command team coordinates also the overall response. And then for this attack team are the ones who enters the fire area, right? So, basically, you cannot do solo in putting out the fire. Okay? So, the safest, the crew, are those who trust each other and work together. That is what we call teamwork. Okay? So, next. Okay, the fatigue effects now. So, after, the fire, of course, you can feel fatigue. So, it is often an invisible danger on board, the fatigue. Right? So, after a very long hours of putting out the fire, fatigue drastically sits in. Right? So, sometimes decision making here is already poor. You cannot make proper decision because you're already fatigued, you're already exhausted. Right? So, that's the basic or the example or effect after the team effort of putting out the fire. Okay? Now, let's go to the cultural and language communication. This is actually our final topic in this section. Communication among multinational crew. Okay? Now, modern ships often have crew members from different countries. Right? Okay. Now, different accents, different languages, and different expressions can create misunderstandings, especially during emergencies. Now, the reason why we're having this maritime English lesson, because in order to reduce the risk that the maritime industry may cause further accidents, no? That's why the SMCP is commonly used during emergencies, our standard marine communication phrases. So, as we all know that SMCP provides this standardized English phrases, right? And is well understood worldwide. So instead of using our slang or local slang or complicated expressions, we use a clear, a direct, or an internationally recognized terminologies. Okay? Like, instead of saying, for example, go over there and check that thing. Okay? Now, a better instruction is proceed to engine room deck 3 and inspect the port side fuel pump. So, that's a clear, a direct, and an internationally used terms or words or phrases. No? So, every nationality now can clearly and fully understand what you instructed. Right? So, again, instead of using go over there and check that thing, the better instruction is proceed to engine room deck 3 and inspect the port side fuel pump. Okay? So clear communication reduces confusion. Okay? And during emergencies, reducing confusion saves lives. Okay? So that completes now today's discussion about human factors. Okay? In fire emergencies. Okay? So we will now move into a fire investigation where we will learn how to investigate or how the investigators determine the origin of the fire. Okay? How you preserve the evidence, how you interview the witnesses, and how you identify the root cause of the fire to prevent future incidents. Okay? So, for the next slides, the error chain analysis. Okay? Now that the transition from human factors, now that we understand now the human factors influence emergency response, let's examine what usually causes a major shipboard fire. Okay? So, many people think that a serious accidents happen because of one major mistake. However, that is rarely true. Most maritime accidents developed through what we call an error chain. Okay? This error chain is a series of small mistakes when combined together lead to a major incident. Like for example, a sensor warning is ignored. A routine maintenance is delayed. A fuel leak goes unnoticed. Okay? And then also, what we call crew reacts too slowly. Okay? Now, before having a long failure, a small fire develops into a serious emergency. Now, the important lesson here is that the crew or every crew member has the responsibility to break the error chain. Right? Now, if you notice, for example, something unusual or a strange smell or a smoke or a leaking oil or any abnormality or an abnormal alarm, you have to report it immediately. Do not disregard that unusual thing you noticed. Okay? Never assume that someone else has already noticed it. Okay? A one-timely report can prevent a catastrophe. Remember this phrase. Small mistakes create big accidents. So, but small actions can prevent them. Always remember that. Again, small mistakes create big accidents. So while that mistake is still small, you take action right away to prevent to a bigger accident will happen. Alright? Okay. So, okay, investigating now the shipboard fires. Okay. Once the fire has been extinguished, here, the emergency is under control already. Our work is not yet done or not yet finished. Okay, the next phase for this is investigation. Why do we need this one? Why do we need to investigate? Okay, it is simply to determine who made a mistake. Do you think is that the correct question? I mean, to ask ourselves or to ask anyone? Is it who made a mistake? Is that the first thing that will come to your mind after the fire? The answer, of course, is no. No? You will not ask yourself who made the mistake. Who we made the mistake. No, do not. The purpose of an investigation is to understand exactly how the fire started, how it spread, and how similar incidents can be prevented in the future. Okay? That's the best thing to do after putting out the fire. Because the purpose, again, of investigation is to understand exactly how the fire started, how it spread, and how similar the incidents can be prevented in the future. So a professional investigation, no, improves the vessel's safety management system. And of course, it strengthens now the future emergency preparedness. So every investigation is an opportunity to learn, really, really. Instead of blaming individuals, the other crew, we focus on improving the systems, the procedures, our trainings, no, the drills on board, and the communication process. So that is how the maritime industry continuously improves, no, the safety of everyone on board. Okay? So, let's start with the purpose of investigation. Okay? And then the primary goal, of course, is to know the root cause of this. Okay? The root cause and the finding. Yes, the finding the point of origin. No? What is the root cause? Okay? And then, we have to preserve the evidence. No? You have to preserve the evidence. So, many crew would like to clean the affected area immediately. However, the investigators must first preserve the evidence. Okay? Think of the fire like a crime scene area. So, the evidence should not be disturbed, no? And then next is the witness statements. Okay? And then we have the photographic documentation. Take photos, no? And then we have to have a fire patterns and burn analysis. Okay? This is very important, the V pattern. Okay? And then the reporting requirements. So what are those? You have to report the safety management system reports, the flag state investigation reports, the notification to the vessel's classification society, and of course, we have to notify the Protection and Indemnity Club, the PNI. Okay? So these reports now allow the marine industry to learn from incidents worldwide, and every investigation becomes part of a larger effort to improve the international maritime safety. And you always have to remember that if lessons are shared, future accidents can be prevented. So let's always remember and put it in our mind that safety is still our priority. So, we have here the SOLAS, the FSS code, and the STCW requirements. This focuses on the international regulations, right? That govern the fire safety on board ships. So, these regulations are not simply recommendations. They are mandatory international standards. Okay, so we will discuss these three when we say the SOLAS, this one, which establishes international fire safety requirements, right? Second is the FSS, which is the Fire Safety Systems Code, commonly known as FSS Code, okay, which specifies the technical standards of firefighting equipment. And finally, the STCW requirement, of course, which ensures that every seafarer receives the necessary firefighting training and they can demonstrate competence before serving on board, right? And understanding these regulations helps us appreciate that every fire drill, every inspection, and every maintenance activity on board is based on internationally accepted safety standards. Okay? Now, in the next section or slides, we will examine these regulations in a greater detail here, no, and understand how they contribute to a safer ships and a safer seafarers worldwide. So now that we have discussed fire investigations, let us move to the international regulations that guide everything we do on board regarding the fire safety. Okay, now, so one of the most important important convention is the SOLAS, right? This one, the Safety of Life at Sea, or the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea. So for today, this one which leads with fire protection, fire detection, fire extinction, and fire prevention, no? The fundamentals principles is that SOLAS is designed around several important principles, right? So the first is preventing fires from occurring. Okay? The second is detecting fires as early as possible. Okay? As early as possible. The third one is containing the fire within the area of origin. Okay? And then also, of course, the fourth one is ensuring that people can escape as fast as possible. Okay? And safely. Okay? So, notice that SOLAS does not simply tell us how to fight fires. Instead, it promotes a complete fire safety strategy and from prevention to emergency response. That is why ships are designed with fire-resistant bulkheads. We have fire detection systems, we have escape routes, and we have fire or fixed fire systems. So everything now works together as one integrated safety system. Okay? So we have to always remember that the best fire is one that never starts. Right? So always remember that. So we also have the fire safety system, the FSS code. So, SOLAS tells us what ships must have. So the first fire safety code explains how this system should be designed and maintained. And this one establishes international technical standards for fire safety. Okay? So some people now, some important key chapters that the portable, we have portable fire extinguishers. No, we also have a fixed fire extinguishing systems. We have high expansion foam systems. We have water spraying or water mist, and our means of escape. Okay? So that's why a regular training and maintenance is so very important with this internationally convention code. Okay? So now for the STCW fire competence, well, firefighting equipment alone cannot save lives, right? So people must know how to use it. Okay? That is where STCW comes in, right? And also we have fire control plans. Okay? We also have inspection requirements. Okay? We also have to have the maintenance of fire extinguishers. This is very important. The fire maintenance. And then we also have the port state control deficiencies. Well, here, there's no reason for the vessel to be detained. Right? There's really no reason. Okay? And we have the fire safety audit review. Okay? This one, the common audit findings. Okay? And then that's why our fire investigation after is important. And then we also have the fire safety readiness checklist. We have to have this one. Okay? And the emergency fire scenario. So let's go here. So what do we have to do first? Okay? Here for the emergency scenarios, we have the high pressure fuel spray. Okay, one moment. Okay, here, this is the first scenario. So, and then the first one is all about the switchboard fire at night. Look at here. No? We have a fire in the bridge. And then secondly, we have a high pressure fuel spray fire. No? So you have to know what actions to be taken. So we also have container car fire, cargo fire. Okay? And then we have emergency scenario, the galley. Okay? Fire during heavy weather. So, what will you do? No? And then we have this emergency response sequence. Okay. The first thing you will do, okay, is to raise the alarm. Okay, raise the alarm immediately. Report the location. You establish the bridge command. Alright? The second one is the muster and communication. You have to verify the head count. You wear your SCBA if necessary. You establish communication channels. Okay? You do that. And then the third one is the tactical firefighting. You select the appropriate extinguishing equipment, and then that's the time you attack the fire. Okay? And then you cool the surrounding bulkheads first. And lastly, you isolate the fuel and electrical sources. And the fourth one, we have here the damage control and reporting. So you have to confirm the fire that has been extinguished. Okay? And then test the atmosphere before re-entry. Okay? Right. Okay. Since we have already completed the main lesson, the next session here now, as shown, is designed to reinforce what we've learned something. Okay? So these questions are not intended to catch anyone out. No. So instead, it helps us review important concepts before returning to work on board. No, just all basics. Now, as we go through each question, don't simply think about the correct answer. Okay? Everyone, you just ask yourself why the answer is correct. Okay? So understanding the reason or understanding the reasoning behind each answer is much more valuable than simply memorizing it. Okay? So let's begin. Let's review. Okay. For question number 1, okay. What is the main extinguishing mechanism of a fixed CO2? Okay, you think what we have discussed earlier, the CO2 cool the fire, does it interrupt a chemical reaction, or does it reduces the oxygen concentration, or the correct answer is, what do you think? Yes, it's the oxygen displacement. So oxygen displacement is the correct answer here. Because CO2 now lowers the oxygen level below the point where the combustion can continue. That is why evacuation is always required before activation. So never forget that CO2, okay, the CO2 extinguishes fires very effectively, but it also creates asphyxiation, no? Hazard or people inside the compartment. No? So never extinguish or never release CO2 in a compartment that is enclosed, that there's still someone inside, because it can cause asphyxiation. Okay? So next is, what happens automatically when you open the CO2 release cabinet? Okay. So, yes, ventilation stops and pre-discharge alarms activate. Okay, yes. So what is the primary objective of a shipboard fire investigation? What is the primary objective of a shipboard fire investigation? Okay, it's A, to identify the root cause. Because it's really not easy, no? It's not that easy to claim insurances from the company. Okay? So, you have to investigate first what is the root cause. Okay? Next is for number 4. What does the point of a V pattern on a bulkhead usually indicate? It's the area near the fire's point of origin. Right? That's the point area. Okay. So next is for number 5. How does the fatigue affect firefighters during an emergency? Of course, it reduces reaction time and it increases mistakes because you're tired already, you're fatigued already. So what do you think will happen if you're fatigued? No? During emergency. So it reduces now reaction time. You cannot think clearly. You have a poor decision making. So there's a big possibility that it increases mistakes. Right? And then, for number 6, what should a multinational crew use standard marine communication phrases? Of course, to reduce misunderstanding during emergencies, right? Especially multinational crew on board. Now, during a routine inspection, which of the following should be checked on a portable fire extinguisher? Yes, the pressure gauge, safety pin, and discharge hose. You have to check that. Calling, paging third mates, third officers, this is one of your duty, your responsibility to check the firefighting equipments. Okay? And then, for number 8, so which action is an example of a good situational awareness? It's the predicting how the fire may spread to nearby areas. So that is an example, a good situational example awareness. Predicting how the fire may spread to nearby areas. And then for number 9, we have what is the correct communication method to reduce misunderstandings during an emergency. Okay? What do you think? You message, you read back, and then you confirm. Okay? So that is the correct answer. Okay? So, the question for number 8, you message. Okay? Let's practice. It's like that, no? And then you read back and then you confirm. Okay? And lastly, excuse me, for number 10, where must a copy of the fire control plan be located for sure fire brigade access? So where should it be placed? The fire control plan. It should be marked weather-tight container outside the accommodation deck house. So that is where the copy of the fire control plan must be located. Okay? So, next. Oh, this is the last question. Okay, thank you, everyone. We have reached the end of today's lesson on fixed fire equipment, fixed fire extinguishing systems on ships. So today we learned that effective firefighting is not simply about using equipment, right? So, one moment. So, we begins with prevention, right? And then it continues through the training. And then it depends on the teamwork. And of course, it succeeds through, excuse me, discipline and leadership, right? So, We discussed also the different fire extinguishing systems, including the CO2, we have the foam, the water mist, the sprinklers, and the deluge systems, right? So, we learned the importance of safety precautions before activation, right? And especially the need for complete evacuation and headcount verification, right? So, um, we also explored for human factors such as the stress, the communication, the situational awareness, the leadership, the teamwork, of course, and the fatigue, which influence emergency response, right? So, so next we studied fire investigation procedures, and we saw how understanding the root causes of incidents helps prevent future accidents, right? And then finally, we reviewed the international standards established by SOLAS, the Fire Safety Systems Code, or the STCW. Of course, all these international standards rule provides the foundation for the fire safety on vessel or on every vessel. So before we finish, I would like to leave you a one final message that ships can be repaired, right? Always remember that. Ships can be repaired. Ships can be replaced, or cargo can be replaced. Equipment can be purchased again. But a human life can never be replaced. Okay? Remember always that, everyone. So every fire drill you participate in, every training where you practice the skills, every inspection you complete, and every safety procedure you follow contributes to protecting lives at sea, and especially our life. Now, whether you are a cadet, a rating, an officer, or a master, you have an important role in maintaining a safe ship. Okay? Always remember that. Okay. Again, ships can be repaired. Cargo can be replaced. Equipment can be purchased again. But a human life, our life, can never be replaced again. Okay? So thank you very much, everyone, for your participation and attention throughout the lesson. I encourage everyone to continue studying, practicing, and applying these principles on board. Okay? Thank you, Gimyang Shipping Seafarers Union, for this unwavering support. Stay safe, everyone. Stay alert. Stay prepared. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you very much. Again, this is your teacher for today, Teacher Shelly. See you all again for our next lesson.